much does this spring practice sort of begin the auditions for the quarterback of the future with Jack and CJ here? I know you have other guys, but these guys are kind of the future. You looking at it that way?
Yeah. I mean, they came in here for a reason, early, to learn and get spring practice under their belt. And so there's a lot of guys out there that are here early, 14 guys, really 15, and those guys are here for the first time and they're learning and everything like that. The other part of it is a lot of guys on our team that have played a lot of football just based on how the season played out really in those first 10 games. In the second half, a lot of those games they were getting a lot of reps, but certainly for all the guys coming in early, it's a great opportunity to kind of get that going, and this is really important for us. And they've been here now 6 weeks, and so they're picking it up good, but it's different once you get on the field.
Front row middle, Dave.
Ryan, I imagine you were extremely motivated last year. First-year head coach, people might have been doubting you, everything that was going on. Now with the great season you guys had, the contract extension, I mean, how do you keep that hunger yourself that you had last year?
It's just the expectations, first off, that you set for the whole program, but then that you have for yourself. And, our program is all built on fighting and competing every single day to be the best version of yourself, the best version of your unit, the best version of your team. And, we know what the expectations are here, and that's part of this thing. And that's when you wake up every day, you know what it is. And we're hungry. We felt like, we got, a good foundation set underneath us this past season, but we didn't reach all our goals. And so there's still a lot of work to be done.
This might be a better question for later in the spring or even after spring, but the transfer portal, is that something you're going to be looking at to maybe add depth in certain spots?
I mean, we're pretty full right now, but you always have to look at it and be a part of it. I think that it's changed. I think probably even 3 to 4 years ago it was almost like taboo to talk about something like that. But that's the way things are going, and so you always have to keep an eye on it.
Right next door, Nathan from Cleveland.com.
Just you've obviously got just a handful of main guys back on defense, and a couple of those guys are out today. Just how are you kind of approaching when those guys can start mixing back in and being a bigger part of practice?
Yeah, just got a few guys nicked up, but they'll be back soon. And we're smart with how we go about this in the spring, especially with a lot of guys who have so many reps. I mean, there's a lot of guys with bank reps, and so that being said, we want to be really smart about when we put those guys back in there and go through it, because there's a lot of preseason, there's the whole summer, and so again, we just got done playing a couple months ago. I was thinking about it the other day. Really, you have January, February. We're March 1st, and here we are. So literally only 2 months ago we were playing. So it's really for the younger guys, but a lot of the older guys have to continue to learn how to become leaders now, because now, like you're saying, some other guys left. Now they need to step up into different roles, and it's different when you're a starter and you're the guy that they're counting on to make plays. So that's a big step for those guys, but it's also for the guys who don't have a lot of reps to kind of get some under their belt. It's really for the development, too, of the individual player, technique, fundamentals, and learning your craft.
I have an opinion right now of where Seven Banks stands, because obviously he's a guy who really looks the part.
Well, he's got to step up. I mean, it's only 2 months, since we played our last game, and we'll see once we get through the spring if he's willing to take that next step. But certainly he's had a good couple weeks of winter workouts, or a couple months of winter workouts, and he's a guy that we're counting on to step up.
Right behind him, Steven from Cleveland.com.
Is the idea with CJ and Jack is to handle their reps from here through fall camps? How you maybe handled Justin in that situation last year, where you're keeping it as equal as possible?
Yeah, today we were rolling. Both of those guys and Gunner, they were kind of rolling reps with the twos, and as time goes on, they'll start to all roll reps with the ones as well. And we feel like Justin has enough of his reps, but Justin still has some things he needs to work on and improve on. But then we'll kind of let those guys compete for that backup role, and who knows what happens at the end of spring. My guess is those guys will just keep working at it, and the competition will go into the preseason, and there's just a lot of growth to be had there. And it's hard when Gunner came in as a transfer, and then those other guys are just coming from high school, so there's a lot of football to be learned, and that's the idea of spring practice.
With Justin, it's like, I don't want to say free reign with the reps, but like if he feels like he wasn't necessarily happy with the reps, because he had free reign to kind of keep going at it a little bit more than the other one, just because he is the starting quarterback here.
No, I mean, he's going to take the reps of the ones, and when we feel like he has enough, then we'll kind of let the other guys go. But he still has a bunch of things that he's really focused on working on and getting better at.
Third row right, Rob from the Dispatch.
Ryan, when was the last time you had starting quarterback and back-to-back?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I'm not Yeah, it's been at least almost a decade. Yeah, I really can't remember the last time it happened. So it's unique, which is exciting.
What, moving forward with Justin, what's the next step? What do you work in year two? Having not seen this situation, what do you do?
I'm proud of his development from where he was at this point last year to where he is right now in practice one. He's come a long way in the pocket, moving in the pocket, seeing things and drop back protection. And we have a list of things that he's working on to get better at. But a lot of it is, just learning to play the position. And in terms of this past season, as time went along, he got more and more responsibility. And now it's kind of year two, so now we spent a lot of time talking about the intricacies of the position, protections, route progressions, coverages, things like that. We can get a little bit more involved and start to explain the playbook a little bit more.
Is that jump first to second year, your understanding, again, having not seen it, like monstrous? They say that jump is pretty big.
Well, let's hope so. I mean, that's the idea, is for it to be big. And I think, when you saw what Dwayne did in that year, you see what Joe did. There was a lot of years behind closed doors of a lot of work being done in the meeting room, on the field, practice, and then you get to see where they ended up, where it's hard to do that when you don't have all those reps under your belt. And although, you guys and everybody else doesn't see all the reps that are had because they're not in games, we practice so much more than we play. And all those reps in practice, 7-on-7 team, red zone, third down, and then the film work and hours that are spent to improve and understand what's going on, so that when you get to that moment, you're ready to go. And that's been the idea here, and that's where hopefully Justin now can, again, take some of those reps, take those meetings, and now step his game way up.
Front row right, Austin from Letterman Row.
Right from the outside, the secondary just looks like the biggest uncertainty maybe on the roster. When you guys are in here looking at it, what's the feeling, what's the mood about what you have to work with?
Well, I mean, Sean coming back was huge. I think Sean, in my opinion, should be considered, the top corner in the country coming back in all of football. But when you look at that, and then Cam's coming back and Seven's coming back, you get some decent depth there in terms of reps. And now some of those younger guys are going to have to step up. That's I think the next thing. And then Marcus Hooker and Marcus Williamson. I think both those guys got reps last year. They have them under their belt. Josh Proctor's. He's been a little dinged up, but we'll get him back. So there's a lot of guys there that got reps, but haven't played a significant role. And I think that combined with some of the younger guys that are going to have to play in. We have Lathan Ransom also coming in, and Cam Martinez as well. So that'll our numbers will be right. Now it's just a matter of, can Ryan Watts and Legend Cavazos and those guys step up to play significant time this year, and that's what the spring's here for.
So if you were in the spring and you're the coach, you want to see them take the next step, the young guys, but you don't have Sean, you don't have Cameron right now, Proctor's out there. Matt, those are the guys you're counting on. You probably wanted them to play in spring. How does that impact a coach's thinking? Does it make you nervous that you can't get them going right now?
Well, I mean, you certainly want them out there, but again, the best thing that happened to us was being in those games last year where they played a lot of football. I mean, there's real football and real evidence of them playing in the Big Ten, which that's pretty unique. So that we do know that at the end of the day, when we put our heads on our pillows, they've played football. Now, we certainly need them to get out there. We need them to improve. We need them to get better. But we also know that that's happened. So, yeah, I mean, we want them out there, and we'll get them back out there soon.
Front row middle, Joey from Dispatch.
Ryan, it seems like slot receiver will be an interesting spot. Just KJ Hill, such a reliable guy there. How do you see that position group kind of shaking out?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. You're right. I mean, that's a transition spot for us. I mean, last year we used some two tight end stuff to kind of supplement KJ a little bit, but we're hoping to get C.J. Saunders back. But we also have Garrett in there. We have Demario McCall. We have Jackson. We have Mookie. So we've got a couple different guys in there that were out of practice today, and it was good. It was a good day, honestly. For the first day, just seeing those guys play in the slot is pretty natural. So I thought today was a good start. Well, we'll see how we get going through the rest of spring.
How much of an adjustment is it for a guy like Garrett who played more outside this year than slide inside?
I don't think it's some guys you put them in there and you're not sure. Today looked pretty natural for those guys though.
What's the latest on CJ?
So we're just waiting to hear about being eligible in the 6th year, and we'll go way back from the NCAA. I believe in April we'll probably have a better idea of some sort of response from them.
Fourth row left, Andy from the Landry.
Yeah, Coach. So Harry Miller moving to left guard, it looks like. Can you talk about the decision to slide him over?
Yeah, we're trying to find the best 5 guys to play, and Thayer, Josh, and Wyatt are obviously returning, and so now we got to find the next. We got to find 4 and 5. So however that shakes out, we'll try to figure that out. But I certainly don't want to put guys into roles and then not have the best 5 guys on the field. So whatever that is, and we're going to try Harry at guard and see if he can be 4, and then figure out who plays at right tackle. That's the idea.
Does he need to shore up to be a solid starter this season?
Well, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. You have to be strong in the run game and be able to move guys up front. A G and a 3 technique. You got to be able to create some movement in the run game. And first off, you have to know what you're doing. That's part of it. But it helps to have some guys around you that have been around and can communicate with each other. But then in the pass game, you got to hold up as well. You got to do a good job protecting and holding the pocket, and especially inside. You can't get knocked back in the lap of the quarterback. And sure enough, the inside of the protections is an emphasis point for us this year. So, but Harry's a high functioning football player. He's got a good IQ, and he played at center, so that really helps in terms of identifying things early on. You have to make a lot of calls, and so I don't think it's going to move too fast for him, but he does have to step up because we need guys to step up in that group.
Right in front of him. Dan from 11 Warriors. Ryan, you guys moved Kate Stover to tight end, Cormonte Hamilton to defensive line. Just wondering what went into those decisions, why you guys decided to switch them.
Yeah, I mean, I think both of those guys have a chance to be really good players for us this year, and I look at we looked at their skill set and brought them in and talked them through, and suggested that we see a skill set in them that maybe they don't see in their own. And asked them what their input was, and both of them were excited about challenge, being presented with the new challenge. And so I think Cade, when you look at his skill set, his basketball background, and his spatial awareness and things like that, his toughness, we think that he projects into being a really good tight end. And vice versa, Cormonte, Coach Johnson worked with him in camp and saw what he could do on the defensive line, and just watching him this year on the scout team, we thought he had a chance to play really good in terms of a tackle, so or a defensive end. He could do both. So we're going to see what happens this spring. It's kind of a new challenge for those guys, but the skill sets that we see, we think there's a future for both those guys.
How do you approach that as a coach in terms of, at a certain point in a career, you want a guy to be locked in at one position?
Yeah, well, I think they're both young, and we brought them in and talked them through the whole process, and certainly aren't going to force something down their throat. Something that there was a back and forth there, and tried to get their feedback. And I think both those guys felt like they wanted to just get on the field as soon as they could. And talking it through, at the end, it was their decision. It wasn't ours. And I think if you own the decision, then you have more likely to embrace it more and to run with it. I think both those guys are going to do that.
Front right. Tim from Letterman Roll.
Yeah, Brian, just you kind of touched on this a minute ago, but just your impression of those young receivers, the freshman dudes running around out there, especially Jackson had some pretty outstanding catches today. Julian Fleming, as the day went on, seemed to get going and stuff. Just what's your impression of these guys right off the bat?
Talented. They're talented. I think the thing that strikes me is with all the 7-on-7 and things that are going on throughout America, they're further along than maybe receivers were 5 to 10 years ago. Certainly you can see a guy like Jackson who's played in Texas, where they have those activity periods. They have so many reps under their belt that it just makes sense for them. You can see that today. You can see the talent of Julian and just, his ability to get off of a line of scrimmage and make plays down the field and his size. G. Scott, it really surprised me just how mature his releases were and getting off of the line of scrimmage. And then Mookie flashed. I mean, I think all 4 of them really have a chance to play and be successful. Now, they have a long way to go. But for day one, better than expected.
You kind of touched on something I wanted to ask you about, though. Jackson from Texas, where spring football, and
That's right.
How much would you like to see Ohio high schools get into that in some form or fashion? What do you think would work for them?
And well, I've I think made it public that proposed a 5-day spring practice schedule or practice for high schools, and they're in the process of kind of voting on that, and hopefully we can get that passed as soon as possible, because I do think it matters, and I do think it's good for the state of Ohio to evaluate these guys, whether it's Ohio State or any colleges, but also for the development of football players throughout the state.
One other quickie too, following up on Harry Miller. A lot of people thought if he'd gone a lot of other places last year, he might have gotten to start as a freshman somewhere. You watched him as much as anyone. Does he look fairly natural at the guard spot? I mean, what did you just see right off the bat?
I didn't really notice. I'll have to watch the film and see, but starting as a freshman necessarily isn't a good thing in any position. It's about the development where you're at in the end, and I think Stud did a great job of developing Harry, and the ability for him to now go from guard to center is really, really good. And so I think he's going to be the next really good one in terms of, the Elf Lines and the Corey Linsleys and the Billy Prices. And so I think, him having to be able to do both of those is important, just like Josh started kind of back and forth. And so, we're expecting a big thing from him.
Far left, Matt from 610 WTN.
Practice one here today, but come April 11th, are there questions in your head? Austin was asking about the secondary, of position groups, players. What kind of questions are in your head that you want to hopefully have answered at the end of the spring in terms of position groups, whatever?
Yeah, I look at it like, you have the 15 practices in the spring, and then when you start in August on the first practice of preseason, that's just practice 16. It's just an extension of the off season, as opposed to, okay, what are we getting done here in the spring, and then what are we getting done in the summer? So really, we don't really install day one of preseason. It's already been installed. Now it's time to pick off from where we left off on practice 15. And when you have those 15 practices under your belt, along with all the meetings and all the other time in the off season to go through, these guys have so much time to improve. But the idea of spring practice is for each guy individually to get better, their unit to get better, fundamentally and technically. And then as we get into the preseason, it becomes a little bit more about the scheme, a little bit more about the unit, in terms of their identity. That being said, every position has their own story. We could spend a lot of time talking about that, but I think it's, okay, where are the leaders? Who needs to be the leaders? And then where is everybody else? And because you have so many young guys on this team, there's a lot of guys that don't have a lot of reps under their belt. Obviously, the 15 kids coming in mid-year are some of them, and then there's other positions where they played, here and there. But are you going to step up and now be a starter? And that's, what you want to see with your team. But the chemistry will be fun. Every year is a new journey. In college football, you have a new coaching staff, you have a new, group of leaders, you have a new group of seniors, and so that dynamic is different year in and year out. So I already think we have a good feeling for that. 2 months into the off-season program, but getting on the field will be different too, because you also have to play the game. That's a big part of it as well. And I think at this time last year, when you look at Akuda, you look at Chase Young, you look at J.K. Dobbins, they were younger guys, but they had such an impact on the field, they became good leaders that helped them along the way and springboarded them into leadership. And I think there'll be some guys like that this spring as well.
The 14, I guess 15 new guys, how'd they do during winter conditioning, and what do you want them to get out of the next
they did a good job, and just to get football under their belt, learn football. When you show up in August, if the first time you've ever heard of a play or a formation, or where do I run during an individual drill, or where's my locker, or what do I wear for cleats, or all those things, that distracts you from being effective on the field. And so it's just to kind of get the rhythm, get a routine going, learn the offense, learn the defense, and figure out where you fit into it.
Second row middle, Bruce from Sports Illustrated Maven.
There were talk about J.K. a year ago taking a leap. I wonder if you see in Master what you need to see to replace a 2,000-yard back.
Yeah, it's a concern is when you lose so much production. J.K. his freshman year did such a great job, and then he and Mike kind of split it the year before, and then J.K. stepped up in a big way. So yeah, that position, when it comes time to the fall, is going to have to step up in a big way.
Your second game at Oregon jumps out because of what they did. What's the protocol timing for when you start delving into opponents on the schedule, and particularly them, because they really need to do it?
Yeah, I think once you get into June and July, you start to really look at those guys when you have a better feel for your team, because it's one thing to know what they do, but it doesn't really make much sense unless you know who you are and your identity, because there are certain things that you evolve with as the off season goes on, and as the season goes on, you look different. There's certain things you do that look the same, and you know those things, and we'll look at those. But I think once you get into June and July, that you start to get closer to where you're at, and then obviously in August and September.
Are there any circumstances under which Wentz and Reed could return to the team?
No.
Exoneration.
Front row left, Doug from Cleveland.com.
You guys have talked about Sean Wade moving outside at corner. When we had 7 out there today, was on the outside corner all the time. Is Cam Brown, when he's healthy, in the mix in the slot at all? Or just thinking about those are your top 3 corners that he's coming in, right? Or all 3 of them only on the outside?
Great question. I think it goes back to the old line. I think you find your best 3 guys. And if 7, Cam or Sean can one of those 3 guys can do a good job inside, then we'll do that. But the good thing for Kerry is, when you come in here fresh, you get a fresh look at it, and you get a chance to see it. And I think as time goes on here through March and April, he'll get a good feel for their skill sets and try to figure out the best guys to put on the field, especially for third down.
I know it's day one. Looked like Nick Petit-Frere and Paris were rotating at right tackle. You mentioned the idea of a true freshman starting, but how much is, at least right now, Paris in that mix to say, show us what you got, and if you're the best guy, maybe you'll start? Yeah,
again, it's so early, like you said. It is day one, but the best players are going to play, and we have 15 in the spring, and then a bunch of them in the preseason. Some in the 20s. So you're talking about almost 40 practices before you get going. So it's just day one. It's a long way before then, but hey, he's very, very talented. He's got a lot of ability, and if he's the best player, he's going to play.
To follow up on Garrett Wilson in the slot, we saw how explosive that guy can be, going up and getting balls. Made the helicopter catch against Clemson. To see him just lining up there at all in the slot today that much, that's a pretty potentially explosive dude in that position, right? What is just maybe in your head of why maybe that's the way you would go with him?
Well, I think when you look at his background, his basketball background, his spatial awareness is off the charts. His range is really good. He can operate in short areas. The other thing for him is he can time up down the field, like you said, so he's got a unique skill set. But I just think his ability to catch the ball, put it away, run after the catch so quickly is something you want out of a slot receiver. And running option routes, setting up defenders, understanding space and everything like that. It happens a lot faster in there, but I think his skill set fits that way. Same thing with Jackson. I think they fit that way, and so that's why we made that move.
All right, two more quick ones. Since I've been here, every year there are great players to replace the great players. That's what Ohio State does. But Chase Young might be the best pass rusher that you guys have ever had here. Jeff Okudah is in the mix as one of the best corner you ever had here. I'm sure you guys tell you guys every year, but you probably won't have a defensive end as good as Chase and a corner as good as Jeff, just because that bar is so high. So then what does a whole defense have to do to say we're going to be as good defensively when maybe those two positions can't be as good as those guys were?
Yeah, I don't think that I know our guys see that as the benchmark in terms of that's what we want to be at those positions, but I don't think we spend a lot of time talking about that. It's more about just maximizing yourself every day, maximizing our unit, playing with toughness, playing with effort, running to the football. Because there's a lot of areas, we weren't perfect on defense last year. We got a lot better. We did a lot of good things, but we weren't perfect as a unit, and that's what the focus is. And when we play well as a defense, all of a sudden now guys get these accolades. And guys have an opportunity to go to New York and everything else. But again, it goes back to the group, and that's what the focus has got to be.
Last one, your contract that you signed since we talked to you last. The raises that are built in there that get you up among the top 10 guys, it looks like in the country pretty quickly. The buyout there that looks sizable enough to show maybe, make it a little harder for you to leave. What would you like the world to take out of your extension and the raises that you got? What does that mean?
Well, I think the person and the people that were the most excited about that were my kids, because they knew that they weren't going to be the new kid in school for a long time again. And that's the idea, is that we're here for a long time. And I'm certainly couldn't be more grateful for the Board of Trustees, President Drake, and obviously Gene Smith, who I owe everything to him and obviously Urban Meyer to be in this position, because that's a big deal. That changes our life as a family, and we don't take that lightly. But the number one thing that we're the most excited about as a family is we get to be in Columbus again for hopefully the next 7 to 10 years, hopefully 20 years. We want to be here as long as we can. We love it here. The kids love the school system. They have a set of friends. Nina loves it here, and that's what's most exciting about this.
I'm sorry, just to follow up. You kind of said some of that stuff last year, right? But when you sign something like this and get an extension like this, you think that says that even more? That puts that in writing even more?
Well, yeah. It goes out to 7 years now, which is a significant deal, and that's a long time in college football, and that's just really exciting for us. And so, to me, it wasn't even really the money part of it; it was the years, and that's what's exciting to us.
Got time for just a few more questioners. Second row left, Bill from the Athletics.
Ryan, how much does it impact you what you guys want to do this spring to have only 2 healthy scholarship running backs, and what went into moving DeMario out of that room back to receiver?
Well, DeMario still can do that, though. We're just starting him out the slot, and then we can always bring him back. He has that skill set. It's something that we've always tried to find that role for him where he can be a running back, and then also be a matchup problem for teams like that. It didn't quite play out like that, and I think a lot of that had to do with how well J.K. was playing. It was hard to take J.K. off the field last year, and same thing with KJ. You know, we got into a rhythm a little bit of, you know, KJ was in the slot, and then we were getting some 12 personnel, and so we never quite got that far with DeMario. And but we're going to do that this spring. I mean, he's going to play some running back. He's going to line up at slot. He's going to do both of those things. And but yeah, I mean, you know, we're going to get Marcus back, you know, before the season starts, and then we have Mayan coming in. So once we get to the summer, you know, we'll be whole. But yeah, I mean, we're one injury away from a little bit of a crisis right now. But in the end, when it comes to, you know, September, we're going to be okay.
And then Peyton Werner is listed like 242 on the roster. It looked like he was playing more as an inside backer today. Is that a permanent thing? Is he now moving there, or are you just trying to move him around to different spots? What's going on?
That's what it is. Yeah, moving around, try him in a couple different spots. You know, we have some good veteran guys that have played a lot of football. What is that right mix? And that's what's great now that Greg's here for a second year, Al's here for a second year. You know, these guys have now seen these guys for a year, and then Kerry comes in with fresh eyes, and a lot of good conversation on that side of the ball in that room, trying to figure out, okay, what's the next step for us on defense.
In front row right, Bill from the Dispatch.
You touched on this a little bit, but just how much more comfortable are you in year two? And yet, because of the way last season ended, is it possible you're even more motivated?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's possible. I think that the focus is just a little bit different in terms of every day was kind of new last year. And now it's more focused on the product and the result, and in the end, you know, in terms of where are we going with this thing, and really have the vision set for. You know, we were there last year, so you kind of have been through it before, and you know as we lead up to this what needs to happen leading up to it. But again, just refocusing things for the team and trying to find that chemistry. But yeah, getting to that game and feeling that thing and not winning, that leaves an unbelievable taste in our mouth, and so it's just motivating us more.
Kerry Combs was out there for the first time. What were your impressions of just him, you know, defensive coordinator? He's running the show now, and just.
Well, he hasn't lost a step, that's for sure. He was running around all over the place, and just as I remember him, a lot of energy, and the guys love playing for him, but very, very intense and extremely competitive. I mean, you talk about a guy who fights every single day. That's Kerry Combs.
And of the guys on the injury report, are any of them long-term, potentially season-ending injuries?
You know, no. I mean, you know, as you look at those guys, like we said in that availability report, we try to stay away from all that. But really, all those guys, you know, we're expecting to have back in September.
And final questions over here to Greg Clay from WSYX.
I'm not sure there's anything left, but are you still molding Corey Dennis? How did he handle himself now that he's full, whatever?
Yeah, no, I mean, it was pretty natural today. He stepped right in, and you know, he's got his hands full there with some young guys with inexperience, and but he knows the system. He knows how to teach. He's going to do a great job. He's going to make mistakes, but it you know, it was really good to see him out there today. He's got a good relationship with those guys. You know, he and I know how we work together. So I mean, sometimes, you know, we show up at the quarterback together, and then other times, you know, we give him a little bit of space, and I think that we play off each other really, really well, and he's going to be a great coach.
Is more asked of him because that's your job, that's your position.
Yeah.
So, and he's holding up well.
Oh yeah, no, he'll do great. He's very, very talented. He's got an unbelievable work ethic. He's got a really good you know, way with people. Good teacher, and you know, wants to do great and highly motivated.